Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to Meet Me Monday. I am Karma with Lewis Acre Farm, and I am so happy to see you here today. I apologize ahead of time. I am still recovering from whatever this whole mess has been. Had a little postnasal drip thing going on and a terrible cough. So I do apologize. I will try not to cough throughout the interview, but no guarantees. Today, I have a very special guest. I have been wanting to bring her on for a while now. She has a very interesting channel that I think you'll enjoy getting to know. And first of all, let me just welcome everybody in. And those who are in chat and those who are in the background, you are very, very important to us, and we're happy to have you here. And those who are watching on the replay. Without our replay crew, let me just say you are so important, and we really, truly do appreciate you. So without further ado, let me welcome to the stage Stacey with
Hi.
Create and Relate. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. Very nervous, but yeah, I'm okay. We'll get through it together.
Yes, we will. And, there's nothing to be nervous about. It's just you and I sitting here having a chat, getting to know each other. And it's just a couple of friends hanging out with a few friends hanging out on the sidelines listening in. That's all it is. So,
Yeah, I've already noticed some nice people in the comments, so I'm happy you're all here to join us.
all right. So, let's just get started. First of all, I would like to get to know you as an individual. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, um, maybe a little bit about your family.
Okay. So I'm Stacey from Create and Relate. I started the channel September, October last year. I've always been very creative throughout my life, and it's something that I really wanted to go into when I was younger. Um, Back then, there wasn't as many opportunities as we had now, which is why I thought, no, I'm going to take the plunge, even though quite a lot later on in life. But using those life experiences at the same time to become creative and hopefully help other people learn how to do things creatively. For example, my children, I have two children, both diagnosed with autism. My son also has ADHD as well as a load of other medical conditions. But I've used creativity throughout their life to get them to
Mhm.
where they are now. And I noticed, especially in the last couple of years, when they started making decisions for themselves about what they want to do as a career, they've both gone into very creative careers. That's what they're looking at doing. So, looking back at building them foundations when they was a lot younger has made their life now a lot easier to manage. A lot they found their own feet rather than having to fall into what society tells them to follow or what the school or college tells them to follow. So yeah, I've got two children. I've got a mum and dad who are extremely supportive. They've been helping me out with the kids since my husband left number of years ago. Basically, we couldn't handle the difficulties with bringing up children with special needs, and
Right.
I've done it myself since then, really, pretty much, 80-90% of it I've done it all myself, with the help of my mum and dad to sort of support me there at the times when I needed that extra bit of, encouragement myself or a bit of ideas. Sometimes when you're in the midst of everything, you don't think the best way you can, and just having that extra person to say, well, have you thought of this or have you thought of that? So they're very supportive. I've got two younger siblings, a brother and a sister,
Mhm.
and we're quite a tight knit family. I've got a massive extended family. I mean, real massive extended family, but the close knit family. We're all very close. We do a lot of things together, especially my brother and his children, and my children growing up. So yeah, that's a bit about the family and a bit about the channel. The channel is basically about opening creativity to as many people as they can, whilst I've just started doing lives, and my idea of doing the Create and Relate eventually was that we can have a safe space to talk about things that are going on, things that are relevant to people who are actually in the chat, whilst we're actually doing something creative at the same time. Whether
Mhm.
that be copying something that I'm doing or just watching because they find that therapeutic themselves, or coming up with new ideas for their own channels, made to support other channels as well as people who come in chat. Everybody's got different experiences, and I think something like YouTube has got enough space for us all to show our own expressions and our own creativity.
Okay.
Babble on.
Now, in your um, description of your channel, you mentioned that you have disabilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I physically have issues myself. There's some mental issues there as well, which I'm dealing with on a separate note. But daily struggles of dealing with fibromyalgia, which I have, ME. I can't pronounce the name of that. I think it's some Latin kind of word. It's a really long word, but ME, which is sort of chronic fatigue syndrome. And I've had some issues with like nerve pain and things like that. So walking
Right.
is quite limited to me, and actually going out to work as a normal job is just not an option for me, being a single parent with disabilities, with children with special needs who demand quite a lot of my time. But what I
Mhm.
was finding is, I was getting a couple of hours here and there where I could sort of just go into my bedroom and do some filming, which is why, I thought now's the best time as any to sort of start being a bit more creative and start putting that out there. And hopefully, I found myself in some very, very difficult, dark places, especially when my husband left. I was with him for 23 years, so it was like a big chunk of my life.
Mhm.
And I won't go into too much detail, but he controlled quite a lot of the things. There was quite a lot of domestic abuse in there, not so much as the violence side of things, but a lot of other ways. But I wasn't aware of that until he'd gone. And it wasn't until I started developing as a person and discovering things that I enjoyed and what I liked, and that took a whole time in itself. We
Right.
had just come through COVID, and literally he went in the November, and then COVID started in the March. So that support network of having my parents and my family around me was basically ripped away because of the COVID pandemic. We had to isolate, so I was homeschooling my children on my own in a house and felt extremely lonely. And it's not just because of the COVID pandemic. You can have loads of people around you and still feel lonely. And I just wanted it to be
Absolutely.
sort of a place where people can sort of come, be creative, me sort of being my element in my creative side of things, whilst I'm also opening up discussions as well, because I feel more comfortable when I'm doing something with my hands or when I'm making something, or, I feel more myself. And I think that's where I sort of had to bring myself back to what I used to like before I met my husband, because anything along those lines that I do now, I didn't have the opportunity to do that whilst I was with him. So now, yeah, I'm following my own rule book. The children are obviously there, and a lot of my life is dominated by the care, and responsibilities about them. And also having the disability, I have to take things as easy and manage my spoons. And if people don't understand what that means, I only have a certain amount of energy per day, and I have to choose wisely what I'm spending that time doing. So if I know, for an example, if I've got to run my son to football that day, I'm generally not going out of the house until that time because I need to be suitable to drive. I need to be able to drive him or do different things.
Right.
So each day, I have to plan sort of like days in advance. Um, my calendar is jam packed, not just with events that are going on or things that I have to do, but also an extra organizational thing of you need to do this on this day. You've got this in a couple of days' time, so you need to make sure you're not doing this or doing too much. Um, that took a lot of getting used to because when I've always been one of them people who runs at 10,000 miles an hour, just do as much as I can, push past all my limits. And it was a big learning curve to try and sort of zone that in and figure out what is too much, what am I actually doing that's causing me problems the next day or even the next week. A certain amount of stress in a week, in a day, can cause a week's worth of pain, 2 weeks worth of pain. So it's took a lot of research in the background of fibromyalgia, but also my own experiences of dealing with it. Um, I think I've got an okay balance now. I know when not to do too much, and then I've also got my dad in the background saying, you know, you've done too much today,
Absolutely.
Stacey. You need to sort of,
Yeah.
chill out a bit. He knows if I've not caught up with it, he's a gentle reminder to let me know, just to back it down a little bit and go and do something less physical or have a rest when I need to. I'm not a rest person, but I've had to sort of force myself into doing that.
Yeah, it's really hard. I also have fibromyalgia and
You know the
other
struggle then.
yes,
But the
along with
problem I
other
have as well, I've
disabilities.
also been diagnosed with ADHD. So my brain is running around here, there, and everywhere, and my body won't keep up. So it's about trying to find that balance of what's going on in my head compared to what my body will allow me to do. So it's a constant battle against mind and body. And trying to find that balance is it's a really difficult task. And if I can pass any kind of um, knowledge or experiences that I've tried or things that I've put in place myself that might help other people whilst visiting my channel, then if I help one person, it's better than not helping anybody at all. I wish I had that kind of channel to sort of visit and have that little bit of time out to concentrate on what I'm doing rather than just getting on with everything and feeling and going further and further down, rather than being happy, healthy, which you need to do if you're taking care of somebody else. Um, I found myself going further and further down, and that's not a good place to be. So if I can be there to help others through some challenging times, to come up with some suggestions, whatever it might be. We do need that self care time, even though I don't like to admit it, we all need a bit of self care.
Right. Are you familiar with the spoon theory?
Yes, I am. I think
That
that was my first, yeah, that was my first kind of analogy of fibromyalgia that I come across. There is new little devices that I've seen advertised on social media, TikTok, different things, uh, like a wristwatch or something you can actually track the what energy you've got throughout the day and things like that, and that can then be produced to your GP or your local doctor, your family doctor, which seemed quite interesting. It might be something that I might feature if sometime in the future on my channel. It is something I've sort of had a thought about. Who knows? If it's on, it'll be on the channel in the future at some point if I decide to use it.
that was the first time that I understood my limitations and
Yeah,
understood that you can only give what you've got. And until,
yeah,
I
and I
was
think
just
I was
sitting here,
giving way too much.
yeah, it was the first time I was just sitting here thinking about it, we've got a sink full of dishes to get done. You can only use the dishes that you have clean, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
and until you can wash those dishes again, you don't have anything else to give. You don't have anything else to use. And
Yeah.
that spoon theory was liberating for me because I could have something to explain to people why I couldn't give another ounce of energy to them. And I
Yeah.
could say, look, I'm out of spoons. I'm done. I don't have anything else. If you want me to do this later in the week, don't ask me to do anything else today, tomorrow, or the next day because I'm not going to have a spoon left.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any dishes left in the sink
Unfortunately,
or in
children
the
don't get
drawer.
that.
We're not going to have any spoons left in the drawer for Friday if you want me to do this on Wednesday.
Exactly.
And it was so liberating for me. And now every time I meet somebody who has struggles and they're lost, they're just floundering, I tell them about the spoon theory.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
And I think it's something that's easy for people to understand. I mean, like I said, children don't generally understand it, even though it is simple to sort of understand. They forget it, and you have to sort of remind them quite a lot. They're not as my daughter, especially. My daughter is classed as a young carer as well. She helps get me out with quite. Excuse me, sorry, my Alexa. I didn't think about turning that off on Do Not Disturb. Everything else is on Do Not Disturb apart from the AI, so apologies for that. Yeah, so my daughter's a young carer. She has been helping me out quite a lot since I've been on my own with physical needs. And it's a tight ship that I have to run. I have to run things as tight as possible so that I've got some idea of what might happen if I don't do this and if I don't do that. As the kids have got older, especially my daughter, she's sort of realised, what it entails, what it does. So she knows as well. She's now starting to do that. Mum, you need to stay in today because tomorrow you've got to do that. So, it's nice to have them reminders, and also you feel cared about. It's not just somebody saying it for their own benefit, because I know it's not just things that she's asking me to stay inactive for that long, don't do as much that day because I've got something else coming up. Just them little comments that you can pass on to people around you. Um, just shows that little bit of care. That's a boost in your own feelings anyway. Then, so having that important relationship between myself and my mum and dad, I've hopefully done my best to sort of have that bond with my kids. Well, I know I have. I've got that bond with my kids as well. We're very close. And although behaviors, especially with ADHD and autism, can be extremely challenging, and I mean extremely challenging. When you've come through years and years of dealing with that day in, day out, and how run down you can get, when you look back on what they've done and how far they've come and what you've managed to achieve, it is all worth it. It's just that you don't feel like it right at that moment in time. And it's nice to sort of turn around to them and say, well, a year ago you couldn't do this or you wasn't able to do that. And, even now at 18, there's things that, my son's not been able to do last year that he's now able to do this year, and it's showing that positive outcome to them on a regular basis because they lose sight of that as well. And you have to do that for yourself as an adult. You need to say, pat yourself on the back every so often and just say, do you know what, you've done all right there. And that is a shining example to me because I put my life into my kids, and now I'm sort of seeing the blooms come to life. They're really, really good kids. Still have difficulties, which I just deal with at the time because that's what you do as a parent. You don't bring them up till they're 18. You're there for the rest of their life.
right. Tiffany, absolutely Google the spoon theory and really look into it. The lady who developed it has an incredible testimony of her own. And she's developed some products that help people with disabilities and fibromyalgia. And they're just incredible. She's an incredible lady. And I think that you'll really benefit from learning the spoon theory. There are definitely times you have to borrow spoons, But when you
Yeah,
borrow spoons, then you have to realize that if you've borrowed your spoons from next week, that means that next week you're at a deficit.
exactly.
And you're going to have to realize that next week, let's say you have 30 spoons this week or every week, and you've used all 30 spoons this week, and you borrow 10 spoons from next week to get through this week, then next week you're operating on only 20 spoons.
Exactly. And
And
that's what I was
so
saying
it's like
about,
putting an
what
advance on
you
your
do that
paycheck.
day can affect you.
So, and Logan, um, if you want to take it as a hint, take it as a hint. But anyway,
It's
we're
all
20
right.
minutes
Been
in.
concentrating that much on trying to stay focused on the camera, I've completely forgot to look at the chat that's going on. So apologies to everybody.
Oh,
I've just noticed this line of chats going up. So yeah, my laptop's down there whilst I'm sort of trying to keep eye contact in a way. So I'm going
that's
to start
okay.
reading them as we go along.
We are 21 minutes in, and I have not greeted everybody individually. I would like to take a moment to do that.
Of
We
course,
have
sorry.
Rebecca, Touched by Yarn. She's one of my amazing moderators and a beautiful friend. She's an incredible person. Um, and Ronson, he's my administrative moderator and my amazing son, my tech guru. Teresa Jukowitz, I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. I wonder who this create and relate person is. Logan, he is my husband, and I'm so glad that he's able to be here on his day off. And Crafty Witch 232, Andy, we've had her on, and glad that
I love
she's able
Andy's
to be
channel.
here. Just Jason Keto, I'm glad you're here. One of these days, I'm going to get an interview with you, even if we have to pre record it. We will get an interview with you, Jason. And, oh, Trey. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Our Louisiana Life is here with us. He doesn't always get to make it, but, and we've done an interview with him. That was a really interesting interview with Trey. Let's see. And Tiffany, Canadian Family Life. Very thankful to have you here with
Hi,
us.
Tiffany.
We've been able to do an interview with her. And let's see. Scratch and Pete PA. So
Hi,
glad you're here,
Pete.
Pete. Somehow, some way, I am going to convince you to come on and do an interview with me, even if we pre-record it. I will
Carmen, if
get
you
an
can
interview with
convince
you.
me, you can convince anybody.
I'll conquer you yet, Pete. Oh, let's see. Our treasured home. Thank you for being here, Nancy. Let's see. Who am I missing? I know I saw some other names. Day One Walks. You are new here. I have not seen you here, but I'm so thankful to see you. Welcome in. Arlene, so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. And Jody Genealogy, thank you. I'm glad you're here. And I know there's some other names I saw. Doggy Life, thank you for being here. Another new name. I appreciate you being
I
here.
see Doggy Life on Andy's channel quite a lot.
Oh,
She
okay.
drops into, yeah, they drop into my chat sometimes as well. So, hi.
All right. Let's see. Have I missed anybody? Webb's Web, Ralph, hello. Welcome in. Webb's Web will be my guest on the 21st. I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be a fun one. Okay, and then that brings us up to current. So, what are some of your hobbies that you enjoy doing?
Um, Anything creative, you've probably guessed that already. Like I said, I've had troubles trying to find hobbies for myself because of the amount of time constraints that I have. But if I did sorry, the AI's gone off again. I tried to do some help around helping other parents in the local area to help them understand when there've been recent diagnosed children with autism and ADHD to sort of share my experiences there. And I did a
Mhm,
few training courses and bits and pieces like that, but I couldn't keep up with it because I kept on having to come back and be called back into school or different meetings. So, I just wanted to sort of combine this together, this knowledge that I've got, and it's not, the channel's not just about autism and ADHD and disabilities. We have a bit of a laugh on there. Sometimes it can turn into some adult conversations. It really is dependent on who's in the chat at the time,
mhm,
and what I'm actually creating, because you're not going to get somebody in there who is really interested in fine art compared to somebody who's just doing diamond painting. And I enjoy doing a range of different things, and my idea was to sort of come up with an idea of a niche and try and stick with that, but I couldn't do it. I thought I might as well just zone into this ability that I've got from jumping from one project to another and doing different types of my my wardrobe. You can't see it behind me at the minute, but I've got floor to ceiling wardrobe, and it goes right across the back of the bedroom. And I've got one small section of clothing in there. The rest of it's all my hobby stuff. So I can dip in and out of there and create different videos depending on what I've got going on that week and how much supplies I've got. And I started building that up, especially once I got control of my finances. Um, Once I was able to do that after my husband went, I started realizing how much money. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had more money than what I thought I had coming in, and I was able to buy bits and pieces there whilst COVID, things were being delivered, and started building up some creative things so that if I couldn't get out of the house, which we all couldn't during COVID, I had something that me and the kids could sort of do, whether that be just finger painting or developing some kind of art. And they both turned into really good artists. My daughter is extremely creative. I'm trying to get her to consider social media at some point because she's better than me. She's got such a creative brain. And that's something that I'm really proud to say, that my children are better than me. A lot of parents, a lot of people don't like admitting that, but if you can admit that your children are better than you, then you've done a good job as a parent. Um,
right.
my daughter's extremely talented, creative wise, and I remember years and years ago when my son was 6 or 7, I tried with both of them to teach them both piano because I used to play piano myself, and he went off it for a couple of years, but the last 5 years he's found his own place and he's now a musician. That's what he's studying to be. He's in his second, no, third year of college now, and he's doing something that he loves. I wish I had that opportunity when I was younger. You had the choice of you either go out and work at whatever you can do, or you get a career in something that's classed as a real job. Because being a creator or doing anything creative back then was just, a pipe dream or a hobby or something like that. And I want them to follow their dreams of exactly what they're able to do. And I think they'll both be successful at it. It's just they'll do it their own way at their own time, and it might take a bit longer than what it would do for other people. But if they're happy and I'm okay to support them until that time, then if I've got the ability to, that's what I'm going to do. I know at some point in the future, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able. The kids won't be around. They'll have their own place or whatever. In a few years to come. My son will always need that extra support, but
Mhm,
my daughter's looking at going to uni this year, sorry, and eventually I'm going to be without children around as much, and I'm not still not going to be able to go out and do a full time job. So I thought, hopefully, whilst I'm making connections and doing something that I enjoy and love on YouTube, that it might bring some income in years to come. So I've given myself a 3 year sort of scale that if things work out by then brilliant. If not, then at least I've crossed it off my to-do list and made some memories in the meantime and some crafts that that I could be proud of.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, do you enjoy cooking, or
Yeah,
do you do
I enjoy
reading, or?
teaching. I enjoy teaching. If I can give back to somebody else, that makes me happy. So whether that's me teaching the kids how to bake or me teaching, like currently at the minute, I've been tasked that my nephew and niece are due to finish school in their first exams in 4 weeks, and they had their mock exams last week, and they want to polish up the grades. So I said, okay, I'll deal with this if you're willing to put the effort in and do the hard work. Then you can come round to my house and we'll sit down and we'll do proper school. And I've got my daughter there to sort of have the up to date kind of exam basis. And we'll sit, and I say, as long as you get on with doing what you're supposed to do, then I'll help you. I'm not one of these now where I used to be, of I will be walked all over. I've learned since Millsborough went that I can't let people walk all over me. So I have built that up. But if I can help somebody, that's all I'm bothered about. If I can help my dad with something that he's designing or something in the house that can anything that I can be proud of, that's all I'm interested in. Reading, don't get a chance to do it. I think, and you're probably surprised about this, in my whole life, I've read one book from start to end, and that was on a holiday in Greece last year because I was able to actually sit down and read a book. I can read, I'm not illiterate, but actually sitting and reading a book. One, because I think the undiagnosed ADHD, I was there, and everywhere, and I couldn't. I'd have to reread over the same chapter over and over again so I can remember what was actually being done and said. And I didn't have the concentration time to sort of sit and focus on that one thing. So short
Right.
stories, yeah, I used to read a ton of those. I find that reading is extremely important, but it doesn't have to be a book. It can be a magazine. As long as you're reading and it's of interest to that person. So I would never sit to my son and say, you're going to read that book from start to end, and that's what you've been assigned to do at school or college. Because what's the point you forcing somebody into doing something that they don't want to do? It's about adapting and creating a different way of doing things, for people to learn. Um, you learn through play, you learn through enjoying things, you will learn by being creative, and that's what I want to put out there. Schooling is extremely important. I don't disagree with that, but I think there's different ways that people learn, and better results come with working with the individual rather than a class as a whole, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
That's my
Right.
personal view on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Excuse me. So, here I'd like to transition. Whoops, hold on. My screen's getting dark on me
Yeah.
again. See if I can. There we go. Bring the light back. Transition here just a little bit. Um, Let me do a little bit of rapid fire with you. And
Mm.
this is where I'm going to just throw out a few words, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay? And this is going to be like your favorites. So, your favorite ice cream.
Bubblegum.
Okay. Um, Favorite food.
Cheese.
Okay. Favorite color.
Purple.
Ooh, I like that. Um,
Very calming.
favorite season?
Spring. I love summer. I love the heat, but at the same time, you become a lot less productive because it's so warm.
I
For
like
about
spring.
2 weeks in England, anyway.
I like springtime too.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very pretty.
well, there's a promise of brighter days, promise of new life, promise
Exactly.
of so much hope in spring.
But I do like the autumn side as well because there's such rich colours, we have really beautiful trees here in England, which, change throughout every single season. You see like the full cycle over here, and then especially in winter, and you see them autumn leaves and different kind of colours and yeah, so we do see it on different, but nature-wise, if you're going out and about, I think autumn is much prettier, but spring is good because you just come past all that cold and that
Right.
dreariness. You're starting to get less rainy days. So yeah, that hope of summer that's on its way. Yeah, that's a nice feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I know that you've alluded to quite a bit of this already, but
Yeah.
let's focus on your channel now. And so, when did you determine that you were going to make a YouTube channel and upload content?
About 4 years before I actually started doing it. It took me that long to build up the courage to film myself and to YouTube is always on in our house. In fact, TV doesn't even get a look in generally in our house. So YouTube is on all the time. That's what my children learn from. They learn from what they like to watch. So sort of got to a point where I was getting really bored of YouTube being on all the time. And then I sort of changed my mindset of, well, this is how it is. This is what they're learning from. Where can I fill that gap? What would I like to see? Them type of things. And then brains sparks start going, and then not long after COVID, maybe towards the end of COVID, when homeschooling sort of become a bit less distant and started to sort of dwindle back to school, I started picking up quite a lot of DIY. And because I was never allowed to have power tools. I wasn't allowed to use a drill. I weren't allowed to use anything that is masculine, anything that's for men. That was his side of things. So I took this I can do what I want kind of attitude now, and learn everything that I could about power tools and drilling and changing things. And I had done a full kitchen makeover. It was my first project that I ever did. I've always had some kind of idea about doing some interior design. I've always liked that kind of thing. Um, and there's a video on my channel of the kitchen makeover that I did, and it was the first time that I did a DIY project from start to finish on my own without anybody's help. And my dad was, saying, if you need help with this or that, and I said, nope, I want to do it on my own. Nope, I want to do it this way. So I asked the odd question, or whatever, but I did everything on my own. Now, that might have only took somebody, a week or two or whatever for the things that I did, but it took me, I'd say, about 7 or 8 months, and that was because I had to balance in the fact that I was a single parent and my own disabilities as well. I had to count them spoons. I had to figure out, and I think that was a good learning time, a good learning curve of when I should do what and how much effort I should put into doing that. And I think if I didn't do that little project then, I wouldn't be, I'd probably still be struggling with finding that balance. Um, but just learning something new and being proud of something that you did. I remember spending one full day trying to rewire all these plugs that I wanted to put on. And I was sat there at the end thinking, is it really worth having this matte black look that you want, or should you just left them white? But once it was done, it was something to look back on and be really proud of. And I thought, "Right, I've done that. What can I do next?" And it was all about that things that I wasn't allowed to do and I wanted
Right.
to do. Things that I was told I couldn't do, I want to now do. So I don't know if you struggle with this side of fibromyalgia as well, Karma, but one thing that I've struggled with a lot is the fibro fog. I forget so much stuff. Um, it's one thing to learn something, but then to remember what you've learned is a different thing.
Right.
And that's why I thought I'll make a video about that because I don't know how many times I've looked back on the videos that I've done and found something that I've lost or found some information that I thought, oh, I forgot I knew that. And then remember, it sort of jogged my own memory. And it was sort of one of those times where you go, right, well, if I'm recording how to do it anyway, and I'm doing these DIY things, and it can be bringing empowerment to other people, not just women. I mean, there's men out there who haven't got a clue about DIY, and young
Exactly.
children who are going into adult who've never done any DIY. It's for everybody. It doesn't mean you can't have a go at doing it. If you don't want to, that's a different thing. But I'd say I would go at everything because if you sort of sit back and say, no, that's not for me, or that's more for that person, then you don't know if you're actually going to enjoy it. I actually enjoyed doing the DIY, especially anything that comes to hitting some bricks with a lump hammer. That was quite liberating. You know, I took a fire earth out of my dining room, and I was banging away at it, and it was, you know, it was quite a good stress relief. Um, but obviously, them are the type of things was wild. But the kids was at school, and I had an hour or so to do it, and that's where. And it's about juggling your time and figuring out when you can do things and when you can't. So, for example, the dining room that I did it in two halves. So we lived and sort of done the homework and the eating and everything on one side of the dining room whilst I was doing the other side. And then when that side was done, I started on the other side. So we still had an operated sort of dining room, but it was sort of under construction for a long time under my. And
Right.
it's not. I'm not one of those people that can sort of put things away. I work till my absolute limit, and then I don't have time to put things away because I'm exhausted. I've already started the mess. I've got that far, and if I stop now and put everything away, tomorrow I won't feel like doing it, or the next time I won't feel like doing it. So it's about learning how you're going to pick that up next, because it doesn't mean that you're going to um, remember where you're up to. And notebooks, yeah, there's a bit of a joke in our house about how many notebooks I own and how much storage I have. They're my two kind of um, my things that the children take the mick out of because I've got notebooks everywhere. I need to put them in some kind of system because, but then again, I might need storage for them then. So yeah, we'll be going round in circles at that point, won't we? But making notes, the fibro, the brain, remembering how to do things, and I think the video side of things
Absolutely.
helps a lot more people visually. So that's where the sort of the video side of things sort of come from. That I wanted to help others learn and also help myself by remembering. So it was a sort of kill two birds with one stone type of thing. But putting myself on the actual camera itself, yeah, that took a long time to do. And it was about my self confidence was rock bottom. My self esteem was rock bottom for a long time before I left. And it took a long time for me to build that up. And it can be done. And then, you know, looking back now, I think I've done really good. But at the time, I just thought, I'm not going to get anywhere here. I'm just swimming in treacle all the time. I can't get anywhere. I'm not moving. But you need to look back 2 months ago, or 4 months ago, or 6 months ago, and just see how far you've come. That's why I think journaling is always a good idea. It's not something I regularly do, but I was hoping that these videos will show me as a visual journal rather than writing journal, because that's not something I've ever been able to sort of keep up with.
Right.
So it's sort of it done a lot of different things for different reasons doing the YouTube, which is why I've sort of said, no, I'm going to stick at this for 3 years, see how I do. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then at least I've give it a try.
That's awesome. So, when did you, or how did you come about the title for your channel?
Well, I did have another channel name. Well, I had a few channel names. I've got this whole thing about procrastination, and I didn't really understand what the word meant until much later on in life. Um, but the original title of this channel was going to be Create, Relate, and Procrastinate. Then I abbreviated it, and CRAP didn't sort of fit the title. So yeah, we were always going to put in things like that, crap happens and things like that or whatever. But yeah, I stuck with Create and Relate just to keep it punchy and also not to have that problem of yeah, the CRAP being on an image. I thought I better start as a mean to go on. But there was plenty of different names, and I've got them all in a notebook somewhere. Maybe I'll nip through them another time. But they're the ones that were sort of like the final couple, and you know, figured out, no, I'm going to stick with the create and relate. Keep it simple that we're doing something creative, and hopefully that you can relate to some of the videos or some of the discussions. Um, to be honest, I never really thought of doing lives that until, you know, within this last 6 months of actually starting YouTube. And I wish I'd done it. I wish I just started this YouTube journey years ago, because I was putting it off and putting it off, and there was just no need for it. I learned more in the first 4 months of actually doing YouTube than I did in the 4 years I was sat around thinking about doing it. You know, and I was researching, I'm always one to look at what I'm doing and it should be done and learn this, that, and the other. But I was just putting it off and putting it off rather than just going out there and starting it. You learn as you go. And as I was making these mistakes, filming, I learned how to do the next one better and the next one better. So instead of spending 5 hours editing like a 20-minute video, I was spending like 2 hours editing. Your editing skills as well. You're not going to be able to do things like that until you've actually got videos to sort of edit. So yeah, they're going to look rubbish at the beginning. Um, but at least if you sort of go back and you can re-edit things in the future if you wanted to do that, but always show it as a look back at of how bad it was back then and how far you sort of come. But you know, I do other things as well on the channel. It's not just about creative. Um, you know, pieces, you know, creating pieces of that of different art or whatever it is I'm doing. I also show on the channel things that I've bought for the channel. So if there's like new YouTubers out there or people who are just starting off, or even people who've been doing it for a while and they're thinking, I could do with a new camera, or I could do with a new anything that I buy for the channel, from tripods to cameras to microphones. I do an unboxing of it. I love doing unboxings. I've got a bit of an impulsivity to buy. So when I do buy them, I put them on the channel. That's sort of my sort of excuse to actually go out and buy something. No, if I need something, I'll buy it, and I unbox it and do a video about it, and then I'll come back to it, you know, a few months down the line, and either do an update or do it within the same edit, depending on how much I've actually got done in that time. But just finding the time to edit things, and you know, I think that's just where my journey's sort of evolving now, is that I'm going from doing videos, which I still plan to do, um, but I think my audience might be more long term on the lives, because it's talking about um, things that people are currently going through, and if I can actually help them whilst I'm doing it. Plus, I'm having fun. You know, these lives, I don't socialise, I don't go out, I don't have many friends. I've actually made more friends in the last 4 months of going on to other people's lives and starting doing the lives myself, which was only a couple of weeks ago. um, I've been enjoying it. You know, I've been enjoying doing the lives, and I think that's probably, obviously it's all analytical based, but as I'm learning more about doing these lives, I think I'm enjoying doing them. I'm enjoying communicating with the outside world rather than just my own children, most of the time. And even though I
They're
love them to
fun.
bits, you can't speak about everything, can you, with your kids? So yeah, it's just nice to
Yeah,
have that adult interaction as well. It's yeah, I think that's sort of like the journey still. That's sort of like opening itself up, and I think even with the channel name now, I still think it could be either a live and or video or both. Um, I also enjoy. This is something that I found out since I started doing YouTube. I enjoy making would you rather videos. So for short videos, I've done would you rather's or the quiz or things like that. And I enjoy making them. So my shorts tend to be like would you rather quizzes and things like that. So, and I've also done some sort of would you rather quizzes, but a bit more serious because I use them quite a lot when I like I said, YouTube's always on in our house, and then would you rather quizzes help me decide who I am and sort of they ask questions of would you rather do this or would you rather do that, and to be honest, it was the first time somebody I sort of like, yeah, in the house. I know the TV's not a person, but they said, "What would you rather do? Would you rather do this or would you rather do that?" And I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, I've got a choice. I would rather do this." And that's how I first started learning more about myself. After coming out of that relationship, and it took a while to do. And I thought, well, I want to pass that on as well. But whilst making them, I was enjoying doing them. So, it's something that I can do them whilst the kids are watching something or while we're having a film night. It's all about multitasking when you're a single parent, and it's about trying to do something at the same time whilst you're doing something else. A lot of things you sort of go, no, this needs my dedicated time, my dedicated sort of I need my full attention on this thing. But there's a lot of things in the day that you can go, well, while I'm doing this, I can do that. So if they've got YouTube on and I need to be in there as a referee because there's days that they really don't get on together, I can still be doing some editing or I can still be doing these would you rather videos, things like that. And I use a lot of the things that the kids do as inspiration as well for these type of videos. But yeah, that's sort of like the shorts that I generally do. I don't generally do like a vlogging, or I might do in the future, but at the moment I sort of enjoy doing them edited, kind of working with new programs, and it builds up that skill as well of being able to do like Canva and things like that, coming up with new page designs and new ways of doing things and what you actually like for doing for thumbnails. I enjoy doing them, but they do take some time to actually bring them together. But I enjoy doing that kind of design as well. It's just trying to do all of it as one person. That's the only thing that I'm struggling with, the actual time, which I'm going to have to figure out over as the channel develops. I will sort of figure that out as we go along.
that's awesome. So, what was your inspiration? Was there somebody who encouraged you to start your channel, or was this just something that you decided to do on your own?
Yeah, it was me, all down to me. Like I said, I was filming stuff a long time before I actually decided to go. Yeah, okay, I'm uploading this. Um, and the kids in the back, especially my son, not so much, but my daughter was, yeah, you're doing this is good. You should show people. You should, So my daughter's definitely been in a form of encouragement. Um, I think through being my self esteem being so run down over the years and years of being in that type of relationship, I was sort of so I was sort of not encouraged to do things. My mum and dad have always encouraged me to do different things, but you don't tell other people what plans or what thoughts you've got or what aspirations you've got in fear of if they
Right.
don't work out, you've let yourself down. Not more that I've let other people down, but you've let yourself down and therefore you'll let other people down. So I never really let people know that I was thinking of doing it. It was about 6 months or so before I actually started the channel, I said to mum and dad, "What do you think?" And they was like, "Yeah, it's a great idea. You'd be brilliant at it," and they was really encouraging. I knew they would be. Mum and dad's always been like, they've always been really supportive, really encouraging, always sort of said, "Yeah, you're doing really good with this, but this might," or whatever. Give me some, constructive criticism. They've never sort of beat me down with any kind of, "No, you shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing that." Um, but I wish I had the courage to have done it earlier. And that's just a personal journey of how that person will be. But if you're watching this and you're thinking of doing a YouTube channel, start it earlier than later, because you really do learn a lot more doing it than you did when you was actually thinking about doing it. That's if I could tell myself that, a year ago, that's what I'd be telling myself.
That's awesome. Really quick, let me just say hi to Jason, who's come in. Thank you so much for being here. And
Hi,
to
Jason.
Glenda, my co host for Taco About It Tuesday. So glad you're here. I hope you've enjoyed your a little escape with your family. And let's see, did I miss anybody else? I thought there was somebody else popped in. If there was anybody else that I may have missed, I do apologize, but I am so thankful that you're here. So, um, so when
Can I just
people,
apologise that you've probably figured this out, but I don't shut up talking when I'm nervous. You don't generally get a word in edgeways when I'm nervous and I start talking. This is what happens. So I do apologise if I've just ranted on about loads of things.
I can get my camera to lighten up. There we go.
Left in the dark.
So, when people come to your channel, what are they going to see for the most part?
Variety. Um, like I said, there's a lot of things in there, from product reviews, unboxings, being creative, trying new things. I mean, shout out to Crafty Witch Andy. I do visit her channel quite a lot, and the lives that she does. And I've never really done crochet. I've done some loom bands with my daughter in the past, but she does crochet, and I've even started knitting, not knitting, crocheting a blanket for my daughter. Like I said, she's off to uni this year. My idea was to sort of create something that she can wrap around her and give herself a hug. And I was going to put my own perfume scent on it, so that while she's not here, and she's out doing her own thing, or she's got that hug off her mum with her all the time. With a creation, something that I've done, and it's not pretty. It's okay. Sorry, I'm looking at it as I'm speaking. It's not pretty. It's okay, but I'm getting better over time. And Andy sort of gives me some pointers in how to how to do different things with crochet. So yeah, like I said, I've built up quite a few these good friends. There's some people that I really I've had a nice hang out with in their lives, and obviously they support me as well in my lives, which it's been a really nice relationship that we can actually support people from the opposite side of the world. A lot of my people that come on to my lives are not in England. They're not from over here. The majority of people I have as subscribers are from America or Canada, or loads of different places. If you go into your analytics and have a look at the geography side of things, where your viewers are coming from, it's reaching places like Russia and Slovakia and other. You're like, what? Why? I'm just somebody in England and this tiny little dot in England. Yet you can reach such a wide, well, obviously worldwide. And I just think it's nice that you meet other people that you may never have met in your lifetime at all, and that's the magic of YouTube and the internet.
Right.
And I didn't have that, or I didn't think I had that open to me, um, especially in like earlier stages of single parenting. But I think YouTube is definitely more out there for people to understand that these channels are available, and it's just about putting that out so that people know that the channels are there, not just to sort of throw your videos out at people so you can get views and clicks. Yeah, obviously I want that over time, but my idea of this channel was to build a community, build somebody, build a support for people who have um when I say struggles, it doesn't have to be like a major struggle like single parenting or bringing children up with disabilities or having disabilities yourself. It could be just a struggle as much as you fell out with one of your mates or your children have had a bad day and come home and took it out on you. We've all had experiences, and if in that chat we can open that up, and I've never experienced it, somebody else in that chat will have experienced it, and we can support each other that way of doing our share with the experiences that we've got. One thing I've never been able to understand people that do it, and I've over the years I've noticed this in all aspects of different parts of my life is these type of people that hold the cards close to the chest for no reason. I can understand it if it's sort of holding back on a surprise to somebody or whatever it is. But if I've got some knowledge for something, if I know about a particular way of doing something or how I've managed it or anything like that, I'm not going to sort of go, nope, I figured all this out my own way. You're going to have to figure it out your own way. I'll say to people, this is what I did and how I did it. And if they want
Right.
to take that information and do with it what they want, and they find a result that suits them, then we're all here to help each other. And I think if we're all selfish, none of us would be. I don't think anybody would still be here, to be honest. If we was all completely selfish, it's them kind of people that are out there, and that's the kind of connection that I want to pass around, so we can be more united as like everybody, rather than just country stays there, that country stays there, or individuals. It's for me, it's about connection in many inclusivity of everything, whether that be um, disabilities, religion, and it doesn't matter what people believe in. I want them to believe in themselves. So that's the only thing that I'm after. I don't sort of discuss particular topics for because people have really strong opinions and passions on the channel, but as long all I'm after is that people believe in themselves and they can do what they want to do with their lives. It's just a matter of finding the right way for that person to get to it. And some people might take longer than others, but if you want to work at something, you're able to get there. It'll just take you along that journey.
Right. Right. That's beautiful. I'm so thankful that you have that platform and that you are able to reach people who want to have a voice and to have an outlet. That is beautiful. Um, for those who are in chat and who are listening, we'll be opening it up for questions here in just a short few minutes. I'll get those words out here. Um, so be thinking about any questions that you might have for Stacey and put those in the chat. Um, so what do you see um, for the future of your channel? Where do you see it going from here? And what do you hope to have? What growth do you see happening and hope to have in your channel for the future?
I'm taking it each day as it comes. Obviously I've got hopes and dreams that one day this will be, a really big channel, but not too big where we still need to be able to have that kind of community. And I think if it goes too big, you're gonna lose that unless you have different channels for different things. Um,
Right.
but for me, really, it's about building that building that awareness out there that there is somebody out there who will always be there to listen to you. Um, whether that everybody has their own journey, and if somebody can help them along that way, then that's what I'm hoping to do along the way. Like I said before, if I'm able to help one person, then great. If I'm helping other hundreds of people or thousands of people, even better. And I think the more people that sort of come into the channel and sort of help with the chats and be part of the lives and things like that, we've got a better chance of somebody who has been through a specific subject. Now, I know from personal reasons that there's certain subjects that I would never open up and talk to about on a live chat. But if somebody's dealt with a similar issue, they can sort of see where them the little key figures of, I think they're struggling with this or they might be struggling with that, and they'll be able to reach out to that one individual. There's a lot of things that I've dealt with that I can't sort of go into too much because it involves somebody else, but I want to be able to support the people that have to have them. It's really difficult to sort of say what I'm trying to say without letting too much out. Um,
Right.
but you as a person, if you're dealing with something because of somebody else, you need that support as well. And there are things that you might not want to be involved with, but you are because you're supporting somebody else, that somebody in the general public is also dealing with. And the person, it's really, I'm trying to explain it the best way I can, but there is always somebody out there who can help. They've always been through a similar experience,
Right.
and it's not my place to mention certain things that have happened in my life because it's part of my story, but it's not my story, and it could cause implications for other people. Um, but on a more private sort of one to one, I think people in the chat would sort of go, I can see this person struggling with this. I might reach out to them and form a connection, and that's what I'm hoping that the live chat will sort of open that up. Or I think it's gonna. I'm still learning. I don't know how this chat's gonna go, how the connections are made. I'm looking at other people's YouTube channels and seeing how connections are made. And I'm learning, as I go along, things like that. But it's just there's always somebody out there who'll listen, and always somebody out there who's either dealt with what you're dealing with or something similar, or have an idea of how to deal with it. And just being part of a community like Create and Relate would open them opportunities up for people to say, I know this person has dealt with this, they might be able to talk to this person about it. Or if I see somebody in the comments mention something that I've been through in the past and I can speak to them on a one to one private chat or something along those lines, then that's not putting something at risk of what I've done and what somebody else is doing. It's more of a one to one thing rather than something that you're putting on the internet.
Right.
In years to come, it might be something that I can discuss about. But there is things that have happened that you have to sort of hold
So
back on a few bits and pieces.
in a way, it's something similar to the way Kevin runs Tuber Chat, where he encourages people to make their connections
Exactly.
individually in chat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to run the same kind of way as that because obviously that is about building connections up about the particular channel, but you will
Right,
find
right,
people of different ways. I mean, like I say, I visit Crafty Witch all the time, and it's because it's not the crochet I'm interested in. It's not really what she's doing that I'm interested in. I enjoy being talking to that person. I enjoy her conversations. I enjoy the way she delivers the huge. It's the subject itself is irrelevant to me. She could be sat there sewing embroidery or anything. It's the person that I tend to be drawn to and how they are and the kind of fun you can have and a bit of a laugh and banter. And that's, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I think that if everybody was everybody's cup of tea, the world would be a very boring place. So we find them connections as we go along. And there's obviously certain channels that I'll visit more often than others. Um, but yeah, this is another thing about time problems. The more people you support, the more channels you have to watch. And luckily now my son has been letting me lend his laptop, so I'm able to keep some chats open, some channels open, so I can help, that way. But I like to actually watch the videos and get an idea of who that person is, especially if they do lives. I enjoy joining in with the lives and getting to know the person a bit better. And I think that communication, that's what
Right.
I've been missing for so long. I think that's why I talk so much, because when I get going, I just don't stop. Apologies.
It's fine. We enjoy getting to know you, and that's what this Meet Me Monday is about: is getting to know the creator behind the channel and
Yeah.
helping to promote the channels. So, with that, if there are any questions in chat, we will go ahead and open that up. I did see one back here from Grace and Fire, Glenda.
Hi, Glenda. What part of England? I'm northwest England, so sort of Merseyside-ish. Not that complete Merseyside, but Merseyside-ish. It is a beautiful country. There's a lot of different things to see. I'm hoping, especially the next couple of years, we can sort of get out a bit more and deliver more more content around how beautiful England is. There is actually a channel called Hadways who goes into more detail about what the different sites, and his channel itself shows me things. I've been living here all my life, and there's things I've not even seen in my local area, which is, you're looking at things from other people's perspectives, and you see things that you've never seen yourself, even though you've been to that place 100 times before. And I think that's something that I've picked up from the kids, is just because you've got one way of looking at it doesn't mean that that's the only way of looking at it. And I think that's just a beautiful thing that YouTube can deliver to people, especially vlogs and things like that. Cambridge, Suffolk. Um, I've not been down that area a lot. I've got a lot of family who live like right down at the bottom of England, but Suffolk, no, I don't think I spent any time there. But yeah, it'd be nice to sort of go out and see a few more places. I actually did quite a lot of traveling to like Spain and things like that over the years, rather than my own country. And I think when you getting a bit older and you don't see what's on your doorstep until you sort of take time to actually appreciate it. And I think that's a lot of the way in life, you sort of running around doing loads of things and don't appreciate what's actually right there in front of you. And
Absolutely.
that's sort of something I want to sort of get more involved with, what's actually right in front of me.
Andy would
As
like to.
sorry, just Andy, yeah, the lives seem to have gotten easier as in chatting to people. The technical side of things is the issues that I'm having. I'm not very tech savvy these days. I went to college and studied computer engineering and all sorts, but that's when computers is a completely different thing. Um, but yeah, I need to, and this is about what I was saying about learning. That's why I have a notebook next to me all the time, and as soon as I learn something about where to put a certain USB plug and change your camera settings to this, once I've found something that I'm happy with, I take a photograph of it or I video it or I write it down in a notebook, because then I've got some way of coming back to it. And I think that's why the videos has worked out a lot better, because I have actually looked at them.
Yeah.
So yeah, gotten easier with the actual doing it, like talking to people, and I felt more comfortable, especially when you're in chat, because you do make me feel a lot. It's nice to have somebody that you recognise in your own chat. It sort of calms your nerves a bit and gives you something to talk about, because you've got a bit of context between you both. But definitely, if you're thinking of doing lives, have a play about with it, because it is good. It's good fun. But I'm always one of those people that always want to do better on the next time. So I'm looking at other apps that I can do to make things better, or other apps that I can, or designs that I can put in the background, or different things that I try and sort of make it better the next time I do something. So I probably make it harder myself rather than the actual live stream being hard.
It does definitely help when you have somebody that's continually there for you and you can
Yes.
relax in knowing that there's somebody there that's got your back. It
Yeah,
makes it a lot
exactly.
easier when you're first getting
And that
started.
you're not just sat there talking to yourself.
Oh, that's the worst feeling. That's how I felt
Yeah.
when I first started doing lives. And trust me, as you go along, it gets easier even when your standby can't be there. It
Yeah.
does get easier.
So it's only been about, I think this about 2 weeks ago. I've done two separate ones. I wanted to try and keep it as simple as I could for the first two lives. So I didn't want to do anything on the actual live that would cause me to sort of learn a new skill or get annoyed at something because it all the I've bought a cricket machine and I'm learning at the minute of different ways and um different product testing and things like that. And sometimes when things stick to each other and you're trying to get the tools in the right place, I thought I'm not going down that route because I'll just end up getting annoyed at what I'm actually dealing with. I want to do something that chills me out. I'm in my own comfort zone. I know what I'm doing. So, doing art, I do a lot with graphite drawing and paint acrylic painting, but I want to get more into doing colours, doing colour portraits and things like that, and hopefully also do like portraits of animals and pets and things like that. I wanted to do more coloured, so I've bought myself a couple of different packs of coloured pencils over the last year. And the first two lots of lives that I did, I've done the colour swatching, which is basically what I do myself every time I get a new medium, whatever it is. I
Hmm.
colour swatch everything so I can come back to it and look at it later on. Yeah, this will work with this paper and different things. So I wanted to just do something that's easier for me to do, something I don't have to be precise with, something that I don't have to have any expectations of myself. So I started with something really simple. Um, just so I could get used to the chat, so I could get used to the cameras being in the right place and the sound and everything else, and also deal with people coming in and out and any problems that may arise. But having them people in the chat, just to I knew, for example, if I said to Andy that does this microphone sound right, or is this not work right, or I knew that she'd say, yeah, this would be, it sounds off, or whatever. I would trust her opinion because they're the connections that you make with people. um so it's nice to have that extra person in the chat that you sort of build up a relationship with, not necessarily somebody that you know as in family. I find it a little bit more stressful when I've got somebody that I know in chat that is part of the family, because you're not you're not talking to them the same way because you're dealing with 100 and other things. You're not giving you 100% attention or most of your attention to that person. You're dealing with a lot of other things. Um, but having somebody there that has done YouTube themselves, done lives themselves, made that connection with, I think is extremely important. And that's where, the magic of Tuber Chat has come from, where we was able to make them connections. And I want to do the same thing, but not the connections on the building and growth of a YouTube channel. I want mine to be some more of building a growth of people you can reach out to, or communities that you can reach, or different groups in your local area. Obviously, I deal with people and parents that might be in my country and around where I live, but I don't know what's happening up in, say, Scotland or America, or, and them are kind of connections. Oh, I only live about an hour away from you. Have you tried this company? Have you tried this charity? And they're the type of connections that I want to grow. I want to grow um, people around to build up like that community of, there's always somebody there that might know more than somebody else and willing to give that information as well. I think that's really important. A lot of people don't like giving that information out, which I find quite disappointing, really. If you can help the next person along going through the similar thing that you've been through, just because you struggle to find that information doesn't mean that you should hold on to that information and let it go to waste. You should pass that on to the next person so that you can
Right.
pass
Absolutely. So
kindness.
you're more about forming the relationships than about necessarily growing your channel.
I mean, don't
I
get me
mean,
wrong, I
it's
do want to
both.
grow the channel.
It's
Yeah, but I want to
both.
grow the yeah, I want to grow the lives now. Now I've had a taste of it, and sort of this is only recent, really. I mean, obviously I had big plans of, yeah, I want to do the channel, I want to grow loads of people, I bring loads of people in, like videos, all the rest of it. You know, bringing in some income from it in the future. Um, but so as it's developed and then this is why I'm saying just start your channel as soon as you can, because you'll learn more about what you want and where it's sort of heading to and what you're actually enjoying. I'm enjoying the lives. I'm really enjoying making them connections and chatting to people and giving, even if it's just having a bit of banter, having a bit of a laugh. You know, I miss that. I miss having that banter. I can't go out to, local bar or whatever and watch a show or things like that. I've got responsibilities that I need to do, but there's no reason why you can't join a live, which I have done with another friend on YouTube. Have a glass of wine while you're all chatting. And it's just something as simple as whatever you can't do out of your house, you could still do in your house. It's just about making adaptations, being creative with it, and finding a way of being able to do other things. It's just I'd never thought of it before dealing directly with YouTube myself, but definitely building that growth of the community of people being able to help each other at the same time as enjoying the content of the videos that I'm doing. But I think the way the channel's going, it's going to be more live, and probably end up going to be one live and one video a week. That's probably what I'm going to be able to do, and probably one or two shorts eventually. Um, but I'm still learning to try and get that consistency, um, and trying to balance that with my life. And obviously, when the children are off college and there's half terms and things like that, if you're the only person as a parent, then your responsibilities lie with the house and the household and your children, not with YouTube. So it's just about, understanding that there is them times when we need to take time away from our channel. We're still there in the background. We're still making sure we're responding to comments and things like that. But it doesn't mean you've got an hour or two to go and do something or film something.
Right. Right. So, do we have any more questions in chat for Stacey? Um, this has been a really, really interesting conversation today, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed getting to know you today, and
I just feel like I've not shut up, and I really do apologise. I'm just like that when I get nervous.
oh, you've been fine. I've enjoyed this. It's been really fun to
It'll
know
give
get
your
to know
voice a
you.
rest at least, won't it? I know you've been a bit of a sore throat recently, so
Oh, you've been fine. I've enjoyed this very, very much. So,
yeah.
like
Abby's got
Andy says,
Crafty Witch has got a nice way of putting it. You're very thorough in your answers.
yes.
In other words, you say too much now. Oh, I appreciate it.
Well, I do have one question just for fun.
Okay.
There is one channel that I thoroughly enjoy watching whenever it comes across my feed. Um, I get a big kick out of it. It's Jolly is the name of the channel. Um, and it's a couple of guys, I think they're brothers from England.
I think I've heard you mention them before, yeah.
I don't think I have actually, but um, what they do is they'll go into some of the schools, the high schools over there in England, or they'll travel to America and they'll go around to different states in America and they will sample American cuisine or they'll serve American cuisine to high schoolers. and get reactions. And it's hilarious, to be honest. And Americans are known for over the top in their food.
Yes.
And we use a lot of spice. Flavor is big in American food. And honestly, I've never sampled food from the UK based on their recipes. So I don't know if you guys use very much in the way of seasoning, spices, whatever.
I'm probably the worst person to ask about food. Believe it or not, I don't like food. I don't eat very much meat. I don't eat any fish. Don't eat any seafood. Not for choice. I think it's more of a taste, smell, and texture type of thing. And also having two children with autism, they generally eat very beige foods. So even though and you know, especially when we've done a lot of Mediterranean kind of things, we just love eating vegetables and things like that. But since we've sort of been in the UK, more so they have a very much beige food, especially when they started school and they was able to experience the quick, easy food that they was doing at school. That's what they sort of fell into. And they won't eat anything spicy. They won't eat anything with too much flavour. So I don't generally have a lot of experience in, like, I do my own concoctions in the kitchen. Like I'll know, for example, that the kids might like eggs and they like beans, but they don't like everything has to be completely separate. So instead of making I generally get creative with how it looks on the plate rather than the actual tastes and textures and feel, because it's something that I've not been able to go too much into. But we did do a quite well, not recently, especially over COVID, we did quite a lot of cake making and baking and things like that. So we was able to experiment with the sweet side of things, but savoury wise, I'm probably the worst person to ask about food. You're lucky if I remember to eat. I just grab a packet of rice cakes when I'm thinking, oh yeah, my stomach's growling, I'll just grab something quick. Generally, it's about getting what the kids need and teaching them how to cook. They're now sort of cooking very basic food themselves. Air fryers have been an amazing staple in this home. My son was constantly needing to be watched, taking things in and out of the oven and things like that. Air fryers has just made my life and his life so much easier, to give him that independence to be able to go in there, put something in, know what buttons to press, and come back out and leave it until it's ready. But yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm not very exciting food wise. I like
No,
I like
no, I just
things
was
like Italian foods, if that helps. But
I was
spicy
just
wise,
curious if you've ever
yeah.
tasted American
But I have
cuisine and what your impression of it is.
It's more one thing that I have. Well, the children watch it quite a lot. There's two felt. It might even be where I've heard it from. I don't know what the name of the channel is, but they compare different products that are the same company but made. One's made in or available to people in America, and ones that are available for people in the UK. And they do things like last week they was doing Monster, the energy drink, what flavors that are available in the UK and what flavors are available in America, or they'll do sweets or chocolate bars. Um, and they sort of taste what things are like, and the faces that they pull, and it's like, how can you eat this? And chocolate in I've learnt recently chocolate in America is very cocoa, where over in England it's very milky and creamy. Two completely different ways of tasting chocolate. Mr. Beast, obviously everybody's heard of Mr. Beast, but their bars are over here in the UK. And my son was like, "Gotta get one of his chocolate bars. I gotta get a chocolate bar. What I see what it tastes like." And he ate it, and he went, "Ugh, this is awful." And I tasted it, and it's all it is that your palate is not used to them type of flavors. It was very bitter. There was very little sweetness in there, and very little kind of creamy kind of texture. And I think it's just what you brought up with, because when the kids were very little, we lived over in Spain for quite a while, and if I was to feed them now what I fed them then, which I'd love to, but they've gone completely off it, they'd be like, "Oh God, this tastes awful." I think it's what you're accustomed to and what you've changed. And I'm more adventurous in every other way, but food wise, I wouldn't even somebody that I really trust, like my mum and dad. If my dad said to me, "Taste this, Stacey," well, he knows not to ask me because I knows I won't taste it. I'm very, very picky with what I eat. So yeah, sorry, I have to disappoint on that one.
No, I just like getting input from other cultures, what
Yeah,
your
but
thoughts
like
are.
I mean, these things like what I've seen on your channel where you're growing your own fruits and vegetables and things, they're the type of things that love to actually do. When we was living in Spain, we grew like not only basic stuff, tomatoes and strawberries, lemons and oranges. We didn't have, most of them was potted, but over in England, you're not able to do that as much because you don't get as much sunshine, especially since I've been in England more recently. Even I can't even keep house plants alive. There's just I don't know if if it's just not having the sunshine here, or it's so the temperatures are here, there, and everywhere. One day it could be really nice and sunny out. The next day it's like it's back in winter, and you're just not gonna. There's no consistency there at all with England. You literally can have 4 seasons in one day. It's not something that is consistent. You can't make plans, and that's nice to see when you see people um, on different channels doing vlogs and things going around the local area, and you're thinking, wow, that's what Christmas looks like in that country. And it sort of opens your eyes up to, it's not just you in your own little bubble in your own little country. There's a big wide world out there. And I want to now I've sort of got to that age where I'm able to go out and do things. Obviously, I've got limitations still, but I want to come up with creative ways to be able to go out there and experience different things in life and not just deal with me and my own little bubble, and um, do that bit more. Now I've got more freedom to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting the different cultures and um, the way they do things, the way they create food. And I find it very fascinating. Very fascinating.
Yeah.
So do we have any questions at all for Stacey other than what we've already seen? Um, Glenda is talking about the chocolate, um, and she agrees with you on the American chocolate that it's not good. Of course, I've never had anything other than American chocolate, so I wouldn't know. But I am not seeing any questions pop up. So, is there anything else that you would like us to know about you or your channel, or anything you'd like to share with us about the area where you live?
Um, like I said, I need to get out and explore my area myself a bit more. But I think if you can make your home a happy home and you can make your own surroundings happy, then you can then take that a bit further. And that's what I've sort of been able to sort of dealt with up until now. I've been able to make majority of the time the house a happy one where there's always something fun going on. We're always doing something fun together. Um, but once you've got yourself and your own mindset in the right place and you've balanced your own life, then you can then hope, that's what I'm hoping for, that I can then help other people who are not quite there yet. It's only the recent years I started becoming aware of things like that I find quite important now, like mindfulness and um I think that meditation should be taught in schools. I didn't learn anything about meditation until very recent years, and I'm not talking about sitting there and making a load of hum noises and chants and things. I mean, just sitting with yourself, sitting with your thoughts, And especially the way um, brains, especially brains with neurodivergent conditions work, you have to give your time that time to sort of process and think and sit. And we're always that much of a rush to move things along and get things done and make sure everything's done the next time. You need to also have that time to just sit and think and let your thoughts be there and let your thoughts process and not move on to the next one until you've dealt with that thought. And it's all about self-development, and everybody's on their own journey. Don't compare your journey to somebody else's, but if someone can help you along that journey,
Absolutely.
then that's that's what we need to be there for.
We're all on our own journey, but we're on our journeys together.
Yeah. Sorry, just bear with me. Yeah, sitting for long periods of time don't help.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any other questions. So we can go ahead and wrap it up. I know you need to move. I can see the pain
I
in your
do.
face. And so I want to thank everybody for being here and for supporting Stacey in her journey on YouTube. I encourage everybody, both here in the chat today and those who are watching by replay. Thank you so much for watching the replay. We really appreciate you. Um, I encourage you to go and check out Stacey's channel, Create and Relate. The link is in the description. And I do encourage you, please go and check out her channel. Give her some support. Even if it's not for you and you don't want to subscribe, please go and watch some videos and click like on the videos. Give her that much support. If you want to support her on her journey, be sure and hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you've clicked the bell for notifications so that you can be there for her on her lives and watch her videos. Um, I know that she will appreciate every one of you. And that's what these days are about. It's about supporting others on their journey with YouTube as creators. So let's definitely rally around Stacey and her journey. Um, give her some support. And if you are a creator and you have content on your channel, does not matter how big or how small your channel is, and you would like an opportunity to be a guest here on Meet Me Monday, please go to the About section on my channel and fill out the interview request form, and we will set you up with a date to come on and be a guest and have an interview uh, and promote your channel as well. I want to thank every one of you for being here. And I want to remind you, too, that we have Taco About It Tuesday tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Eastern with my beautiful co-host, Glenda, with Grace and Fire. And then I will have a video out. I apologize for not getting one out this last week. But we will have a video out on Thursday for your thoughts for Thursday. And then on Monday, I believe I have someone scheduled for an interview. As far as I know, that will be Leonard Mountain Homestead. And so you won't want to miss that one. That one's going to be a great one. With that, I would like to thank you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Be blessed. And we will see you again on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thank you,
See you later.
everyone. Bye bye. Thank you, Karma.